Good day, everyone. Welcome to Real Conservative News. I'm your host, Nathaniel Rajkumar, starting off locally here in Trinidad and Tobago. Senator Philip Edward Alexander has defended himself against critics who want him held accountable for statements made online saying his social media activism is what led to his role in the government. And he's quite correct about that. But in fact, I've said it on numerous occasions that I do believe that he contributed significantly to the UNC's victory on April 28, 2025. I honestly do believe so, and that's why I believe that he should have been given an even more significant role in the administration. But getting back to his statement, he added that he has encouraged government officials to defend themselves publicly, and said the Prime Minister has not admonished him for any statement attributed to him. My response: Philip has been a very positive influence on the UNC party because their leader and members have learned that being passive and diplomatic against hostile enemies and critics doesn't make any sense. Was Kamala Persad always a good leader? Really, yes. But this time around, a much stronger, bolder leader. You know, the PNM Patriots loved Emperor Rowley's boldness, but they want to criticize Prime Minister Kamala Persad Bissessor. It won't stop the Kakash media from targeting the Prime Minister or her cabinet members by being passive. So why bother to play nice when it won't change the hearts of those who are against you? No matter what you say or do, as I said even up to yesterday, you could give the PNM Patriots everything that they want, and they will still vote against you, and they will still find faults in what you are doing. You can give PNM Patriots ham, lamb, and jam, and they will still criticize you for forgetting the yam. If you choose to give them the yam as well, they'll say that you could never buy their loyalty. No matter what, they will never support the United National Congress. So with all what they're complaining out about roads and this and that, they were silent. They were silent for 9.5 years. And those who weren't silent weren't acknowledging the fact that our roads were left abandoned and in a deplorable state because central government wasn't funding most of the regional corporations in Trinidad and Tobago, well, especially in Trinidad, properly. They were only giving only certain corporations like Port of Spain more than they even deserve. My advice to the Prime Minister and her team is to govern our nation with boldness, strength, and compassion, but would ever allow Kakash media and PNM minions to walk all over you.
Today is April 28th. It's the anniversary of the United National Congress winning the general election. How do you feel today?
Elated, ecstatic. It's a beautiful day. I saw in your newspaper that they spoke to political analysts who believe that if an election was called today, we'll win again. And I think that that is a good sign because the Prime Minister had told us that this would be our toughest year, and it was. We had to make some strong, tough decisions to fix a lot of things. But the meeting that we had in Cuba, the statement was brighter days are coming, better days are ahead, and I honestly believe that. As a political leader of one of the coalition of interest parties, I think that the Progressive Empowerment Party and a lot of what we've stood for over the decades have become policy for government, and I'm proud of that. I'm proud of my leader. I'm proud of her strength. I'm proud to be a part of this movement led by Kamala 2.0.
And how would you rate the government's performance over the last year?
I would give us a strong 9.8 out of 10.
Why are you dropping 2.2?
0.2 points. There's always room for improvement, you know, and I myself would have made some mistakes. I think I might be responsible for one of the 0.2 points. So I think that there's a learning curve. It was a sharp learning curve for me to move from an activist to being in government. But I think I'm getting there.
As in recent times, you've been criticized on social media for some language that has been attributed to you. What is your response to members of the public who find the behavior not to be not to be one that should come from somebody in your office.
Especially with sort of back and forth arguments with others online.
Well, okay. But you see, with the back and forth arguments, we have a situation where people are in former high positions. I don't just argued anybody, but I argued former office holders who know better and who say things that they shouldn't be saying or that they know to be untrue. And that they know that there is information that they themselves hiding from putting in the public space, and that I don't want to be the one to put everybody's business in the public space, so I just allude to it. But to your first point, and I want to say this to you, I have been a very strong activist, social and political activist. I have fought all the scars on that ground there. I burnt those candles, and I'm saying that not to boast. It was hard. And so it is a learning curve, and I want to tell the public that I want to deliver, and I want to make sure that I stay true to all the promises that we made and all the fights we fought for, so that if I am not yet doing as well as they would like, I am constantly striving to do better.
Now, the political analyst, he would have mentioned that the government and the Prime Minister in particular is performing well, but that he feels that there are several ministers who are just not carrying their weight. Where do you feel you fall within that? Because we've seen people online saying, well, certain ministers are just online, just talking and not necessarily working for the people.
This morning, somebody posted on a thread that under the PNM, billions of dollars were lost in housing, in the Ministry of Housing. Thank you, Philip, because now housing is not costing the government money. I worked very hard to come up with that public-private partnership proposal that the Prime Minister has actioned. She forwarded it immediately because it was early in the term, and we've been actioning that. I know you've all seen me on the ground. I've been there for the good news and the bad news. We've laid down the HDC law, the Ministry of Housing law, where people were breaking the rules in regards to common areas. I've been to all of the projects that are currently under construction so that we can be made aware as to where we are in that position. I've also been to the projects that basically need to be condemned and done over. I've been to Nelson Street, George Street, Maruga, Point Fortin. I've been to Lakeview. We are coordinating the Lakeview tenants being able to acquire their properties at original prices, making them overnight millionaires, working with Member of Parliament Ernesto Queza. I think that I am working very, very hard. In my hand here, I have the information from the Auditor General regarding the misuse of HDC funds in the last PNM year, and we have that information. So we've been working very hard to cut expenses. I've been working with the board. I've been working with my colleagues, Line Minister David Lee and Minister Roberts. I've been working very closely with Chairman Feroz Khan, who I think has done yeoman service to the country, working overtime to stop at the hemorrhaging that was taking place in the HDC. The HDC wasn't as simple as CPEP and URP that could be stopped. The HDC has a lot of moving parts. So that's a reality that we have to deal with. We have to quickly get a handle on it and manage it. And I think that like the other ministers and like everyone else who are on board in the Ministry of Housing and the HDC, I think that we're doing a good job.
Minister, I want to go back to your comments that you just defended, yourself and your statements on social media. You have a post up that says a video that was online was artificial intelligence, yes, and that it was not you. Could you tell us what statements you actually stand by and what was fake in that video?
And I actually did a voice note this morning to say to Trinidad and Tobago, listen, I only took down my video after one of my attorneys called me to say one of the lawsuits that you are bringing against somebody, you are going to undermine it with this video. So if you want to have the lawsuit, you have to take down the video, and I did. But I don't take down my own statements. I stand by what I say, what I believe. That's what brought me to here. That's what helped bring the UNC back into government. Those strong voices. I hear Kamala Prasad Possessor, the Honorable Prime Minister, speak sometimes, and I feel proud. I hear my words come out of Barry Palarat's mouth. I know that I've empowered and helped and encouraged. I know I've made this government strong. I know their supporters now are not being bullied on social media anymore because they know that they have people the likes of me. But I want to say this, and I want to say it clearly, that there has to be a shift from an activist to a member of government. I get that, and that It is a learning curve, and I am doing my best.
Has the Prime Minister cautioned you about in recent times
Anyway, she said if they come for you, I take the head.
And is the video AI, the one that's being spread?
The part of it that upset me, that I watched, that I saw, they edited, spliced, and dubbed my voice, and that is wrong. Because I don't hold water in my mouth to say things. So if you want me to say something, don't put it in my mouth for me. Let me say it.
So exactly what was attributed to you that you don't?
I don't want to repeat it here because it may be cause for action. One of the persons is himself a lawyer and a former government minister.
Now we're seeing you getting a lot of backlash on social media as well from members of the public about something that is, of course, personal, right? Personal matters. Would you care to clear your name, because we're seeing a lot of things?
I want to know if those things become part of the conversation, because I'd be willing to talk about anything. But I want to know, I used to watch Keith Christopher Rowley walk in and out past y'all, and y'all never ask him about the twins in Victoria Keys. So I want to know if everybody is going to be treated to the same standard. Philip Edward Alexander will right now here discuss anything personal, private, otherwise with you.
So you want to set the standard?
I don't want to set the standard, because I know that you end up in Keith Rowley's house for the 3 times that he called y'all there. At some point, I want y'all to ask him which ministers and members of parliament under the PNM you were referring to that was molesting people in their offices. He put that on Amory Brown's wall. I had to write the commissioner of police to ask him, is there an investigation into this? These are all realities that face us. You can't have one standard for members of a United National Congress government and another standard for the PNM, because then people will say that this is really a PNM media, and I don't want to say that.
No mother of twins has ever come out on social media posting about him.
Regularly. That's the only way I know about it.
That we can verify a living human mother and so-called children.
You didn't see the pictures? No. I want you to reach out. Let me tell you who's the best person to reach out to for that. Minister Roberts, he has all that information. He's the personal cataloger of Keith Rowley and his mistakes, missteps. Anything else? That's it? Have a lovely, lovely day.
Trinidad and Tobago is positioning itself to secure a competitive foothold in the global specialty pepper market as the Ministry of Agriculture and Fisheries intensifies efforts to modernize production systems, expand value-added processing, and strengthen export readiness across the agricultural sector. This was underscored by Senator the Honorable Ravi Ratiram, Minister of Agriculture and Fisheries, as he addressed participants at the hot pepper production for high yields and profitability workshop hosted by Mar Vista Institute for Agriculture Training and Development. The 2-day workshop brought together farmers, agri-entrepreneurs, financial institutions, and technical stakeholders to strengthen production practices, improve crop quality, and expand opportunities within value-added and export markets for the pepper industry. Also, pepper sauce, we have some really wonderful locally made pepper sauce. And we're not just talking about from the big brands and them. We're talking from even just the normal small business owners and so forth. Less recognized companies. In delivering remarks, Minister Ravi Ratiram underscored the strategic importance of the pepper industry to Trinidad and Tobago's economic diversification agenda. And that's what Prime Minister Kamala Persad promised during the election campaign. Also, investing into the manufacturing sector as well. We haven't heard much about that just yet, but in time to come. Remember, they inherited a bankrupt treasury. Noting the country's globally recognized pepper varieties as a key competitive advantage within expanding international markets.
Weather report for Wednesday, April 29, 2026, Trinidad and Tobago. General conditions. The day is expected to be predominantly sunny, hazy, and hot across both islands with a 20% chance of isolated brisk showers. High temperatures will reach approximately 32 to 33 degrees Celsius in Trinidad and 31 to 32 degrees Celsius in Tobago. Saharan dust will be present in mild to moderate concentrations, so sensitive persons should take the necessary precautions. The night will be fair but hazy with a minimum temperature of 24 degrees Celsius. Marine and coastal hazards. A yellow level hazardous seas alert remains in effect until 8 a.m. on Wednesday. Long-period northeasterly swells are expected to cause large breakers and dangerous nearshore conditions, especially along the north and east coasts. Seas are moderate with waves 1.5 to 2.0 meters in open waters and less than 1.0 meter in sheltered areas. Regional temperature forecasts. Port of Spain, high of 29 degrees Celsius, low of 24 degrees Celsius. San Fernando, high of 31 degrees Celsius, low of 24 degrees Celsius. Chaguanas, high of 30 degrees Celsius, low of 23 degrees Celsius. Crown Point, high of 31 degrees Celsius, low of 25 degrees Celsius.
Regional news now. President Dr. Irfan Ali has formally written to CARICOM Chairman and Prime Minister of St. Kitts and Nevis, Terence Michael Drew, raising grave concern over what he described as a troubling development involving Venezuela's territorial claim to Guyana's Essequibo region. In the correspondence dated April 28, 2026, President Ali flagged the public display of a map by Venezuela's acting president, Delcy Rodriguez, during official engagements in CARICOM member states, which purportedly depicts the Essequibo as part of Venezuela. He said, I note with grave concern the display of a map purporting to incorporate Guyana's Essequibo region as part of Venezuela. The president wrote, warning that such actions, particularly within CARICOM settings, risk being interpreted as acceptance of Venezuela's claim, and he's rightfully concerned about that. While reaffirming Guyana's respect for the sovereign rights of CARICOM states to engage bilaterally with partners including Venezuela, Ali made it clear that the use of regional platforms to advance territorial claims is unacceptable. You know, they turned around and sent back basically the same message for Irfan Ali today, and telling him that CARICOM cannot, in other words, take sides or anything like that, or make claim to a territory that is disputed. And in the hands of the ruling has been made by the International Court just yet. They're always playing neutral once it pertains to the precious communists like Venezuela. Now let's talk quickly about this so-called claim that the PNM patriots love to talk about, that all the colonials took part of Venezuela land. Do you know, people, that Venezuela itself only became Venezuela because of the Spanish colonials? It was same colonials. It was one colonial power took territory from another colonial power. So what all them are telling the tribals don't use logic. Because at the end of the day, okay, the British took the Essequibo from the Spanish, right? But that is how throughout history, nations have been taking territories from other nations. The Spanish took territories from the British, and the British took territories from the Spanish, and so forth, and the Dutch, and whosoever else. That has nothing to do with the native people. So if you care so much about the native people, all you tribals, supremacists in Trinidad, if you so care about that, leave Trinidad and give it back to whatever remain of the Caribs and the Caribs here in Trinidad. And that's a whole different discussion by itself. Because I wonder how many of these Caribs, I look at the indigenous in Guyana and I see real indigenous people. But that's a whole different discussion. But nevertheless, so the British conquered the Essequibo region and claimed it as their own. I want to see the international courts going to give Venezuela back that after the British rightfully took it through battle, through war, and they conquered and they claimed it as their own. I want to see what the international court's going to do about that. Why they're taking so long in the first place. But besides that, putting that aside, if they rule in favor of Venezuela, the next thing Venezuela going to do is say that the British also took Trinidad from the Spanish. So what tribal trade is trying to say? You really want Venezuela to take back Trinidad too then? Or they're trying to make sense when all you're talking, man. You're not making any kind of sense whatsoever. Talking utter nonsense. Why? Because you just hate the white man in America and hate the white man in England, the British. What you're failing to realize is the Spanish are white people too. Boy, I'm telling you. And then yet, when the Spanish people here in Trinidad, you just recognize them as white people, and never issue with them. But when it pertains to these kind of territorial issues, you support them. The hypocrisy. It doesn't make sense. My response online. President Irfan Ali, I hope you're realizing that most members of CARICOM are members of communists, socialists, and even supporters of terrorists. This is why Prime Minister Kamala had no choice but to expose their bias and even vindictive tendencies. While they always speak about sovereignty when it pertains to the white man Trump's war against terrorism, they boldly ignore all the evil acts perpetrated by the Ayatollah against their own Iranian citizens, 40,000 protesters murdered, and also remain silent while communists in Venezuela attempt to annex half of Guyana's territory. The hypocrisy continues due to tribalism. Grace Kennedy Limited will increase prices on non-alcoholic sweetened beverages by an average of 9% effective May 1st, directly responding to the Jamaican government's new 22 cent per gram sugar tax, taxing the way out of poverty. Oh Lord Father. But anyhow, they'll say it's about health. PNM used to like to use that narrative, and then even UNC using it now too. This price adjustment, initiated on April 24th, aims to manage the cost of the new fiscal policy, reflecting a strategic shift to pass the tax burden through to consumers, and that's exactly what is happening. Raising the cost of living for the average man, while the politicians make excuses. While supporting public health goals regarding obesity, the company cites the need for business sustainability in shifting from volume-based to sugar contents-based taxation. The move highlights the conflict between government health initiatives and consumer affordability within the Caribbean market. It really isn't about health, people. How come you didn't care about health all the decades and stuff like that? You now start to realize that sugar is a problem. Nah, man. It's because because of the devastation that took place with Hurricane Melissa. You're trying to now implement taxes that you didn't impose for the past 10 years. Trying to do that in order to recover the economy. You cannot tax a nation into prosperity or recovery. Prime Minister Andrew Holness, you're going down a wrong path at this point in time after doing quite well before. Women entrepreneurs in St. Vincent and the Grenadines are now better prepared to improve their businesses and become export ready. This follows the launch of the Generating Resilience and Inclusive Trade project on Monday at Beachcombers Hotel. The project, funded by Global Affairs Canada, is designed to strengthen productivity and competitiveness. TT is being facilitated by Export Caribbean and implemented locally by Invest SVG. Chief Executive Officer of Invest SVG, Anna Young, said the initiative will go beyond a talk shop, ensuring that women receive the much needed support to grow their businesses. Wonderful news. I support, unlike certain individuals on radio that I heard this morning, I support women's rights to independence and being able to own businesses and have jobs and so forth. You can balance it. You can balance it. And when you have a family, what the man's supposed to do is pick up the slack. If both men and women are working, then the chores at home are supposed to be shared. But that's a whole different discussion. But sadly, a lot of men, they like to just, put all the blame on the women for what's taking place in society, when we are the ones most of the times at fault. Sad but true.
This gap between demand and supply is one of the most critical constraints we face. If we are serious about trade, we must fix this. That means investing in incubators and accelerators that build capacity, strengthen production systems, and support quality assurance. And it means ensuring access to the kind of financing that allows businesses not just to start, but to scale. We must also commit to becoming more results-driven. Meetings, consultations, and discussions are important, but they are not outcomes. What matters is what we deliver. Businesses scaled, markets accessed, jobs created, and exports increased.
The The annual Autism Awareness Walk in Barbados was deemed a success by Events and Coordination Chairman Chantal Fields, drawing over 300 participants to support awareness and inclusion. The strong turnout highlights increasing public engagement and community commitment to fostering an inclusive environment for individuals on the spectrum. This event, which served as a platform for advocacy and solidarity, indicated growing momentum for autism support efforts across the island. Wonderful news. The Autism Association of Barbados continues to build on this, aiming to advance understanding and inclusion in the local community.
This is our annual Heroes Day walk for autistic persons. This is the second year that we are having it paired with the Cool Down Fair. The Cool Down Fair is geared towards therapists and different individuals who have businesses that assist the autism community. This one is a little bit more special because we are allowing some of the parents who are entrepreneurs to come and showcase their products, their craft, whatever it may be that they have as a small business. So when you come, you can talk to speech therapists, you have psychologists, assessment units, different schools that autistic individuals can attend to.
Are you pleased with this morning's turnout?
Definitely, we are pleased with this morning's turnout. I think it's the biggest yet, around 300 persons or more. So we want to thank everybody who bought a shirt because we were sold out of our shirt. So we want to thank everybody who bought a shirt and contributed.
Any message you would like to share in terms of awareness and inclusion?
In terms of awareness and inclusion, I would say that Barbados is now picking up on the traction and understanding a bit more about what autism is. I'm grateful to see a lot of corporate companies are signing on. So we've had a lot of donations from corporate Barbados.
Eyewitness News in Bahamas has identified several administrative concerns within the National Voters Register just 2 days before advance polls and ahead of the May 12th general election. A detailed review uncovered multiple technical anomalies, including duplicate entries, underage registrations, and data entry errors regarding birth years. People, that is of serious concern. Huh? Most notably, the report highlighted at least 18 instances of future birth dates, with some entries incorrectly listing years as far ahead as 2065. Lord Father, I hope the rapture takes place long before that. These findings have prompted calls for increased oversight and data verification to ensure the accuracy and integrity, most importantly, of the electoral roll before the upcoming vote. My goodness, this is why the Prime Minister of Bahamas should allow America and all to go and observe the elections to ensure it's really free and fair. International news now, a new page could be coming to your passport, my dear lefties and tribals in America. The Democrats, boy, oh my goodness, the State Department is rolling out limited edition U.S. passports to celebrate America's 250th birthday, featuring a photo of, you know who? President Trump, patriotic artwork, and a bold design honoring the nation's founding. Fox News has learned. The passport will only be available though at Washington Passport Agency. So lefties are in the rest of America don't really have to worry much about it. But hey, I love this. I love it. I can just imagine how the left talking about this announcement. My goodness, CNN. Woo! Now this was wonderful news. The amphibious assault ship USS Boxer, with thousands of Marines, is in the U.S. Indo-Pacific Command areas heading to the Middle East. It ain't over, people. It is expected to arrive in the region in the coming days, thereby completing the extensive deployment of American ground forces in Central Command. According to the latest reports, the ship passed near the Philippines in the last 2 days. Meanwhile, the Kakash media and the CNN far-left radical jihadist media continues to claim as though Trump is losing. And the Ayatollah in Iran, the terrorists had murdered over 40,000 protesters are winning. During Israeli Defense Force and Security Forces activity in southern Lebanon, an employee working for an engineering company carrying out projects on behalf of the Ministry of Defense was sadly killed. His family has been notified by the Israeli police. The IDF and the Ministry of Defense extend their condolences to the family. All this is what happens because they are fighting against a terrorist, the terrorist group Hezbollah in Lebanon. Mainstream media will not let you know that. Sadly, there aren't enough conservative news channels out there, but we do at least have Fox. We have Fox and Newsmax and so forth. I'm not really sure what's going on with One America News. I'm not sure if they have been taken over by the QAnon movement. So I don't know if they will be still supporting Israel or not.
Bible quote of the day. Amos chapter 9 verses 13 to 15 NIV. The days are coming, declares the Lord, when the reaper will be overtaken by the plowman and the planter by the one treading grapes. New wine will drip from the mountains and flow from all the hills, and I will bring my people Israel back from exile. They will rebuild the ruined cities and live in them. They will plant vineyards and drink their wine. They will make gardens and eat their fruit. I will plant Israel in their own land, never again to be uprooted from the land I have given them, says the Lord your God.
Folks, that brings us to the end of today's news report. Thanks again to everyone who continues to support my content. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Stay blessed and stay safe most of all. In Jesus' name.